What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Tell us who are you, James?
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
Bella.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Welcome to the dive bar of the IWC. Welcome to Wrestling on the Rocks, episode 1. Again. Thank you, Marv, for another delightful opening. With me today to talk about the backlash of Backlash. We got takes. Bishop, TW takes. How you doing, man?
I'm all right, dude. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing pretty good. How's it going over there? You excited about Puerto Rico?
I'm extremely excited about Puerto Rico. A little jealous I wasn't there, but I'm ready to have some terrible takes on the backlashing of Backlash.
I feel like the whole thing was like the craziest, almost fever dream. Because we've talked about it, and we're going to talk about it more. But this was like a crazy big highlight in the middle of a lot of mediocre stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you this. The one thing that me and you have never talked about, including this up until this moment right now, is Backlash.
It's true. That's a good
I
point.
knew that you weren't watching live. And the epicness of what it was needs no influence to read spoilers or influence other people's opinion about what they think they might see. I wasn't saying shit to anyone. You need to experience this fucking thing on your own.
Yeah, and if I'm honest, I didn't even finish it until right before I sent you the link. I finally finished Brock and Cody a couple minutes ago. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Before we get into it, though, I need you to tell me what's in your glass while I go grab my drink, because I totally forgot to.
I have water. Today's been a fast-paced day for me. I've had a lot of coffee. I'm not quite ready for the booze. And I think as we're wrapping everything all up to get to this stage where me and Marsh on the same page here to talk Backlash, I just need to hydrate. So sticking with water for now in a reusable bottle. So no glass, no booze, but it's not about what you're drinking. It's about who you're drinking with. So, Marsh, my friend, I got some more.
All right. I got water here. I got coffee here. And I also have, as a big shout out to Just in Time, I do have a single hard Mountain Dew that I will be having.
Nice.
I was so excited to find these. I've now tried the black cherry, the watermelon, the live warrior, and the Baja Blast.
Oh.
But I have not yet tried the original Mountain Dew, so I'm going to do that here today. So I think they're on to something good here because it's a zero sugar.
Right.
And Mountain Dew has been so good about all their new flavors, and when they do limited flavors or anything, they always have a zero sugar version. And it's phenomenal. I think that it's only a matter of time before we get like zero sugar hard Dr. Pepper. And then grocery stores are just going to smell like Nerd BO from here on out. That's the one thing holding it back.
Well, to all your drinks and myself, cheers, my friend.
Yeah, cheers. I've been very, very happy with these. They taste very, very good. So I can't imagine it's going to be any different. Mountain Dew was my favorite soda growing up as a kid. Mountain Dew.
I stopped drinking Mountain Dew because of how like intense the sugar is. Like once those stories about the gamers, drinking Code Red like crazy and having shaky eyes and stuff, I was like, you know what? I'm not drinking sugar drinks anymore. And every once in a while, I'll tap into like the Baja Blast Zero Sugar. I'm like, what the fuck is this amazing experience?
Oh yeah,
and it goes great with Terramana.
Yes,
it's special. It's special.
Yeah. It's good stuff, dude. And then when I was in high school, I worked at a Discovery Zone, and we had a Mountain Dew slushy, and I used to have that every fucking day. And I remember the day that they were removing it, so we're not reordering it, and I was like, why would we not do that? And they're like, well, most parents don't want to give their kids that much sugar at one go. Yeah. Said, oh, but I drink it every day. And they're like, as an organization, we don't think we want to give our employees that much sugar in a single go. I was like, all right, well, can't argue that. But yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
So good, man. They nailed it. So good. Remember there was a big time where all the diet sodas never tasted quite the same as the other sodas?
Yep.
And that was always a huge thing. And then some people even, like my dad drinks diet sodas because he prefers the flavor of diet soda over normal soda. It's not even a calorie or sugar thing. It's just a flavor thing.
Yep.
These zero sugar ones have not compromised or changed or altered the flavor in any ways is amazing. And the fact that these hard versions have also not compromised or altered the flavor in almost any noticeable way is equally amazing. If we thought vapes was bad for children, we got hard Mountain Dew, motherfucker. Let's do it. Kids are going to be fucked up at school and no one's going to know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. He just drinks soda. All right. Let's talk because there's a lot of stuff going on here. Like I said, I did start with Cody today. Actually, let me start with SmackDown because here's the deal with SmackDown. Here's what it did. Not much. You know what the crowd, what the SmackDown was introducing us to the crowd. This was the debut of the Puerto Rican crowd, and the entire show was built as such, where there was almost nothing that was all that relevant or important. I did really enjoy the damage control bit because I thought they do great. I did enjoy seeing Karrion Kross and Shinsuke have a decent match. I thought everything with the LWO was done very well. And that actually got me excited for Zelina. I've been tough on Zelina in the past where I said I think she might be two moves. She's always had a tough time. This really gave me a hint because as you noticed, fucking Ray and Dom like really sat back a lot.
Yeah.
This was
for sure.
This was a lot of getting you excited. So I thought that this SmackDown as a show before the PLE was actually really good in getting me excited for it. Because I said, wow, the crowd is this hot for the Viking Raiders. You know what I mean? Like, not to knock the Viking Raiders. I love them, but what the fuck have you done for me lately? You had the OC versus the Viking Raiders, and they were fucking hot for all of it. And I was all like, whoa, what are they going to be like when the big guys come out? Like, and then seeing the tease with Rhea and Zelina, I was like, that match might be a lot better than I'm giving credit. What did you think about this SmackDown?
Yeah, I actually think everything you said is a extremely valid point. Sounds awfully familiar. No, I loved it because you're right. Like introducing us to the Puerto Rican crowd, like we've heard so much about so many different areas of the world that enjoy wrestling in their particular ways and all that, and to be such an underserved territory for so long. Because even, I mean, when's the last time they went? It was for house shows, right? At least as far as WWE goes. And what kind of televised activity have we had when it comes to Puerto Rico? I can't recall. And the only thing we've ever heard in our time is the nightmare stories of the 70s and 80s of what happened in Puerto Rico. So to be able to experience today's Puerto Rican crowd, I was taken back. I was like, oh, this shit's crazy. And it wasn't like a hijacky Chicago thing, and it wasn't a overly seemingly choreographed sing-songy like it was in Cardiff. Where it's like, okay, this is our moment to do this. No, they were in sync with the performance and their appreciation for the performance. I thought it was fucking incredible. I was like, this is crazy, right? This is, they're just happy that they got some shit. And then it turns out with the pay-per-view, it's not that. They are that fucking passionate.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I heard them compared slightly to a Canadian crowd, and I agree that, like, it's that kind of fervor for the entire sport of it all. Yeah, and I would say that as far as like Puerto Rico, definitely underserved by the American television, or even just companies over the decades, because I mean, even through the 90s, when you listen to a lot of stuff people talk about it, they talk about Puerto Rico being like the destination. It was like if you weren't going to be on WWF or WCW, you were going to be in Japan or Puerto Rico, because those were the other places that was that big for wrestling. You can make that kind of money and have that kind of excitement. But
gotcha.
It also wasn't like, because producer lady was asking me, was Puerto Rico a big lucha town? I was like, well, I mean, can't say I know, but from everything I've ever heard about Puerto Rico, I don't think so. I don't feel like lucha was ever a thing. I always felt like it was more of a brawler style place.
Their own strong style, but not like it with an intensity of realistic fighting.
Yeah. That's where Bruiser Brody was the biggest. That's where Abdullah the Butcher was the biggest. That's where guys like Cactus wanted to go. Like, that was a rough and tough kind of area. So I don't know, pretty cool to see them this hot for all of it. But there wasn't much on SmackDown necessarily to talk about other than Bad Bunny comes out in a WWF racing jacket.
An amazing racing jacket that he just threw in the fucking stands. I can't imagine that thing is valued for pennies.
Yeah, they got it back. There's no way they didn't get it back.
And the F logo all over it, not blurred out on TV at all. Amazing.
No, on all their digital platforms, though, they did.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, when you go back and watch it, or you see it on even the USA app, or whatever, they didn't blur it. Because I also, what was it? Credit where it's due. Jeff Dye on Freddie Prince's podcast had mentioned a couple weeks ago that he was at an event or whatever, and like the sandals that Matt Riddle kicked off went into the crowd, and security came around and was like, I need those.
Oh, no shit.
So they're starting to pick shit back up out of the crowd. You don't know what you're keeping or what you're not. So I don't know. I feel like you get a flip flop in the mouth, you get to keep it. You know what I mean?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
But
we'll take that back. Well, it hit me in the eye. So what are you saying now? You know what I
mean? Oh yeah. Well, that's the other reason why I thought they created Matt Riddle's shop flip flops, so he could kick them out into the crowd, and it's just merch.
Right. Get them from the merch stand that night. Kick them off. Yeah.
Like Becky and her goggles, when she would give those out, they were in the like they were at the shop. You could get them. So it's like I thought that was the purpose of doing stuff like that, so you could do stuff like that. You know, Brett's glasses were shop glasses. They just wasn't exactly the shop at the time. But dude, let's talk the live event, because that's kind of where it all went. I mean, because I don't want to get ahead of myself. Well, here's the deal. What we like to do typically is talk about the storylines, how we got to it, and what the fallout was on Raw. Without digging too deep into any of them, was it just me, or was this a particularly awful episode of Raw?
Well, it's because the PLE was so hot and Raw had nothing to do with the PLE except for one moment. So they moved on, in typical WWE fashion. Show must go on. They just moved on. So what were you watching Raw for? Like, I was watching it to see how the tournament played out, and it played out kind of like I thought it would.
But that was the other part that bothered me about it, is it played out pretty much how I thought it would. Like, I remember when they announced, this is what the triple threats, we're going to have 2 triple threats on Raw, and then the other one at the end. As soon as Triple H said that in the press conference, I turned to the producer lady and said, so we don't need to watch Raw. Raw's going to be pretty much pointless. You just need to know who won.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You know?
I hear you. I hear you.
And I think we even predicted last week or 2 weeks ago that you're going to probably have Seth and Finn, and then Seth go over that. And then, I mean, at this point, I think that we'll probably have Seth and AJ at the end. But I don't know, man. It was a pretty flat episode of Raw, and the crowd was shit.
Yeah. And again, compared to what? What's the last WWE crowd we saw, Yeah. So, but I'm with you.
Like, I get it. Dana Brooke is not the top of the card. But when she comes out to that kid and goes to give him a fist bump, and he just kind of like laughs in her face and says no. And he's wearing that little fucking superstar shirt, the one where they paid extra to get backstage and stuff. Like, what? Fuck that kid. That kid is spoiled and shitty,
Yeah.
I thought that was messed up. And then you could hear a section of crowd try to get it going, and it didn't quite go, but you could hear a section trying to get that Natty Sucks chant going. I was like, fuck these guys. Like, I don't know why you'd want to go back, to be honest. Like, if you're just going to be a disrespectful crowd to the entire show.
Where was it from?
Off. It was in Florida.
It was in Florida? Yeah.
Yeah. It was supposedly they called it Duval, but they were referring to it as
in Jacksonville. Yeah. Well, it's Duval County, Jacksonville. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I missed the beginning of Raw. So I don't know, out shopping or some shit. I can't remember, but we missed the beginning of Raw, and when I did get it on, Cody was at the end of his promo, but I could imagine it was a lot of gratuitous. I made a lot of, good choices here or some shit like that. I made a lot of good memories here in Jacksonville. I'm pretty sure all that happened.
He said it and moved on, though. He goes, because he said, he opened it with, we've made a lot of memories here together. Let's make some more. And then moved on. Like, he wasn't.
But yeah, listening. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they're a fan service crowd, especially if it's Jacksonville. That's what they're used to. Me and you talked about it all the time with AEW, where it's like they do the moves to pop the crowd. And if you're not popping the crowd, then you're not getting the reaction. Well, WWE tells stories a different way. So if that symbiotic relationship didn't exist between the crowd and the performers, of course, we're always going to feel like it sucked.
Yeah, that's true. The crowd was just waiting for their moments to pop about shit.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. Let's see. Justin says, premium live event was awesome. Raw was just the easily predictable tournament matches and nothing else. Yeah, there wasn't.
Cheers, brother.
Yeah, there wasn't much. And we had a ton of Judgment Day, but like there was like almost every match had someone from Judgment Day in it. And I was like, what are we doing? All right, but let's move back. Let's circle back a little bit. The pay-per-view itself. Let's see. Started with Bianca and Io. That match was so fucking sick, dude. I was expecting a little something of a decent match, and the crowd was so hot behind Io. And for all the best reasons, I'm not sure why. Because I think there's so many good reasons they could be backing Io. That it's not as easy as sometimes you go, oh, yep, it's MJF in Long Island. They're going to cheer him because he's their guy. And you go, well, they cheer him everywhere. But this was, well, she's not from Puerto Rico. I don't know that she's performed there much. Maybe she has. Is it because she's a high flyer? Well, Bianca's also kind of a high flyer, but they're a different type of high flyer. Are they tired of Bianca or just excited about Io? Are they just backing Io because she hasn't gotten what everyone thinks she deserves. Like, it's really hard to say if there's a singular thing, but the one thing that was evident was the entire crowd was on the same page on that. Io was their girl.
I listened to the Masked Man show yesterday, and I guess David Shoemaker was asked by someone in WWE, and he, you know, Shoemaker, he's on all the documentaries and stuff. He's a well-versed historian of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked him, like, why is the Puerto Rican crowd so behind the Japanese wrestlers? Because even Shinsuke had a really good support the night before. So, and he said he's not too well versed in that particular part, but there is somewhat of a relationship between Japanese performers and the island of Puerto Rico. I don't know what that particularly is. Is there a longstanding New Japan relationship, and maybe they're the ones that go over there and give them the wrestling that they want to see as far as mainstream wrestling goes? I don't know, but there's a chance that that's just part of it, that they, you know, that style of wrestling that, you know, if Asuka came out for a match, that she would get the same response, that they just have a love for Japanese wrestling. I don't know. But that was kind of the guess.
That was also one of the guesses that producer lady gave me too, was she said, is it just because of the island thing? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, Islanders are always supporting Islanders. It almost doesn't matter what other island is there. Like, and when I think back to, like, even my high school, I went to high school in the most diverse county in the world, or in America. So we had a bunch of Polynesians, Tongans, Samoans. They all were from different islands, but they all were really tight knit because it was all that island, this island. She spent a lot of time in Hawaii and saw that connect between Hawaiian natives and any other islander that came through. It was like, well, we all get it because we're also from an island. Like, there's almost just a tight knit group of just islanders. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. It can make a ton of sense. It makes a ton of sense that could be the reason. Absolutely. Yeah. And just because it makes sense doesn't mean that I understand it. But outside looking in, if that's a cultural significance, then I could see how that could be a common bond.
Yeah. But it was cool. I mean, either way, the crowd was fucking hot for this match.
Yeah.
And both Bianca and Io, I think, played with the crowd well. You know what I mean? I thought there was a really good chance of someone getting shook on the responses not being quite what they had imagined, but they both went through it awesomely. I thought Bayley and Dakota's interactions were done really well. I still don't. A lot of people are saying that they're all seeing the cracks in Damage Control, and I get this impression that they're trying to push cracks in Damage Control more so than Damage Control is willing to put out there that there are cracks. Does that make sense? Like, this didn't come off like Bayley screwed Dakota. This came off as Bayley was helping Dakota and Bianca got the better of them. But also the Io made the mistake, right? Like, Bayley was holding Bianca's hair to keep her from rolling, which it really wouldn't stop her from rolling. The referee tells her to get out, and Io waited too long to do.
She just waited, yeah.
Like, the mistake was Io waiting too long.
Yeah.
You know, even on the other side, when Bayley was distracting the ref because she came in, rolled out, and had a hard time getting out of the ring, so the ref could be telling her to get out, Dakota kicks Bianca, and Io took too long to set it up. Like, it didn't look like Bayley screwed Io. It looked like no matter how much Bayley and Dakota were willing to try and help, Io was too distracted by them and waited too long and did not capitalize.
Yeah, for sure. Like, they're trying to fill in the blank of the execution, that it's just a distraction, them being out there. But it's not as if Io's cutting promos saying, I just want to wrestle, you know? So Io's not taking advantage of the help that's there. Yeah,
and it's not like Bianca should be distracted because she knows that they're not on her side. Io should not be distracted. She should not give a shit what they're doing. Let them do whatever.
And that's a great point, because it actually looked like the interference didn't bother Bianca. I'm used to this shit, where Io's like, wait, I'm getting help? Well, okay, wait, is the help done? Okay, now I'm going to do it.
Yeah. It didn't come across to me like,
Yeah, and that doesn't fit the rest of the match. Because Io on her own was on point. She just kept going and going and going and going.
Mm-hmm.
But I do tell you that the one fear that I had, I still saw, and I'm trying to erase it from myself. It's that when Bianca's in control, she's missing the the clasping of the seatbelt. Like there's something that just doesn't connect. But then once it does, it's tight, it's secure, it's snug, but it's as this little gap in her motions. It's there. It's that Charlotte start and stop thing that happens. But as soon as it happens, I tell you one thing Bianca did in this match, she sold her ass off.
Yeah.
Everything EO needed from her, Bianca absolutely gave it to her. And that was a problem that we both had during the Bayley run, right? Her initial run is what is she really giving to her partner and also the fans, right? Are you selling this in a way that we can invest in what you're doing? And she does. The way she was selling the arm was amazing. Every slam Bianca took, every time she hit the mat, like Io really was able to gain momentum, and it really helped the crowd stay in it and everything. There's just a couple moments where Bianca had to get something started, and I'm like, oh, just get rid of that. Just miss that part. If that goes away, Bianca's perfect, man. It was just, it's so glaring though when it pops up because everything else is so good. But other than that, I thought the match was awesome.
I feel like that goes away with Bianca after having several matches with that person. Like she doesn't have that with Carmella because they've had so many matches. She doesn't have that with Becky because they've had so many matches. I feel like that's her feeling out her opponent. And that probably comes from her having to feel out Charlotte and Charlotte being pretty shitty.
well, her and Io, they have great chemistry.
Yes.
So it's there. I honestly, what I thought this one looked like is she was overthinking the moment. That's what it felt like. But I don't know. I'm not in there. But I do hear you on that. I mean, she's had to really battle with some people. So, but I thought it was one of her best defenses as far as matches go. It was all. And I tell you what, I absolutely want to see it again.
Me too. I want to see it again. Yeah. I don't think that I'm in any place storyline wise, no matter how much commentary is trying to push it and people online are trying to push it. I'm not seeing on TV anything actually that says, yep, Damage Control is falling apart.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually what I'm seeing is Damage Control not taking enough advantage of each other, which means that they need to tighten it up. Not that they're falling apart, but that there's still room for them to keep growing. You know what I mean? Like there's still room for them to get better.
At least say that they have bad team chemistry. It's not that because they're not adverse to each other. Like you said, there's nothing in the story that's saying, they're fucking each other over. They're just not clicking on all cylinders. That doesn't mean that there's cracks in the foundation. Like we see that in the bloodline. There's cracks in the bloodline foundation, but there's nothing in Damage Control that's showing the cracks. They're just not always on the same page. They need better team chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin does bring up the one thing that was super glaring to me and started getting me actually really annoyed on Raw. Justin says, Io and Bianca was awesome. Only issue is still that WWE is not fixing or giving an explanation as to what's going on with both women's championships. Having a show like this Raw that was so Judgment Day heavy, that had so much of Rhea and so much of that SmackDown Women's Championship highlighted on Raw, really fucking annoyed me.
Yeah.
Especially given we've come this far with precedent and we still we're misrepresenting it. You know what I mean? Your titles. Like, why are we doing this? Why do I have a SmackDown champion on Raw and a Raw champion on SmackDown, and we're not just swapping the titles at this juncture? If they don't fix it on this SmackDown, I really don't know where the hell they're going with it or what's the point. I thought the whole purpose of them not switching was that one of them was going to lose a thing to somebody and someone was going to move around or something, right? But at this point, they're just doubling down on all of it, and you go, this makes no sense for no reason, because you've already established how you fix this several times.
And and not only that, it's because I believe I tweeted too. Like when are we doing this? When is it going to happen? And it doesn't. And how do you get out of it? Right? Like you're not going to have the Charlotte Becky in the ring, tugging and the dropping of belts. How do we get to the moment where it's amicable? Because now if Bianca's in the ring on Friday and Rhea's music hits, we now have an adversarial reaction or interaction, I should say. There's no smooth way to get about this. There's no respect to it. It could have been handled at the end of the show at Backlash or at the press conference. They didn't have a press conference after this one. But had they had a press conference after this where Triple H does his thing, they could have had Bianca and and Rhea at the end of it, or in the very beginning of the press conference. Boom, here you go. Have Bad Bunny come to the press conference, whatever it had to be. But there's nothing. And the fact that they didn't do it backstage at this is definitely a miss.
Yeah. I thought at Raw you would have it or something at this point. Like, what are we doing?
And they talked about this. They talked about the SmackDown Women's title, like you said, so many times with zero mention that it belongs on SmackDown. Zero mention that the Raw Women's Champion is somewhere else. So are they just gonna? So technically, the days keep adding up for Bianca because she's still Raw Women's Champion. Is she always going to be Raw Women's Champion? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Justin says the only thing I could think of is I'd hate it if that's the case, if that's just their way of having them on both shows. Yeah, I mean at this point too, you have to lock down this draft. You have to lock down the roster shift. If you're going to say this World Championship is because Raw needs a champion, but you're going to put SmackDown people in it, you're already fucking on the draft. If you're not going to get the SmackDown title on SmackDown, you're fucking around with the draft. You're making a lot of things that were already seemingly unimportant become even more unimportant and dumb. Like, this is a very frustrating time for me watching wrestling right now. As much as I loved the live event, Raw has been getting worse and worse every week because of this. Yeah.
And I tell you, cheers to Grim. I know I was stepping on your introduction to him, but thanks for coming through, buddy. I thought they nailed the explanation of the draft and the title, that because it's a new title, if someone from SmackDown wins, they will be transferred to Raw. Okay, cool. So it's a new title with an open field. The representative can come from anywhere. But because they explained that part and the roster was set, only Raw guys showed up on Raw. To me, the only draft fuck up was not explaining the SmackDown Women's title. Had they done that, then the only thing we're complaining about is, well, why are SmackDown guys, a part of this?
Yes.
So yeah, I hear you.
Because also, why are SmackDown people a part of this undermines the entire purpose of the thing to begin with. And it also undermines everyone who joins that tournament. If you're on SmackDown and you're going for this new title, it's because you don't think you could beat Roman. So now you have a whole roster of people on Roman's show that don't think they're good enough anyways, moving on to another show.
I get that. I do get that perspective.
If I'm Bobby Lashley cutting a shitload of promos about how I'm going to be the one to take out Roman, if I'm Baron Corbin cutting a ton of promos saying I'm the guy who beat Roman last, I can do it again, and then they say we have another vacant title over there, and they go, fuck all that, that's too hard. I'm going to go do this one.
Like, no, I get that, but there's also the perspective, well, it's my job and my boss asked me to do this. You know what I mean? Like, WWE put them in the field. That's how I looked at it. Like, the way you just said it is they joined the tournament. I took it as they were put in the tournament.
Well, they never said either way, so.
Yeah.
Justin says, WWE basically fucked up the draft by having free agents and then the whole world title tournament involving SmackDown superstars. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we're too close to the draft to have it not be so hard lined. Yeah. Like, you do the draft because you got to create that hard line now.
Yeah.
And then immediately say we're involving SmackDown people, just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, they should have just stripped one of the titles. I mean, that's the thing. Just strip one of the titles. That's all. That's all they had to do.
Point.
Just strip one of the titles. De-separate the unification. That's it.
Yeah, especially if you're not going to create a united title. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, when they did the two titles before, they've created one belt that was called the Undisputed or whatever.
Right.
If you're not going to do that, and you are going to just have this one is this, and this one is that, and I'm one champion, but I have this and I have that, and I'm going to defend them both at the same time, but I'm going to talk about them differently, then what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Grim Reaper says you can win the new title and then go for Roman later. No, you can't, because you'll be on Raw and Roman is on SmackDown. So you can't. Right. You're dumb, Grim. Idiot. Like Randy. Stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been frustrating to watch because so much of this shit has just not made sense. All the way even to getting to Io versus Bianca, where Io gets the number one contendership, so Dakota gets a match before Io. Fucking why?
Yeah, no, and Justin even said it too, that if a SmackDown superstar wins, why didn't they just get drafted to Raw in the first place? And I get that as well, because I guess the real argument here would be if you're gonna do this tournament and you know who you quote want in the tournament because you want the belt to exist, then draft that entire pool to Raw. If you're gonna pull the title out in July, then you can coordinate having the right people on Raw to be in that tournament. So there is a way to do this without having the SmackDown people on there, for sure. For sure.
But also, because let me pull up the picture real quick, because the other thing that came to mind for me was, let me see here. The people who are in the SmackDown pool. Most of them are in factions, who are drafted as a faction. You have Ray, you have AJ. Let's see, what was it? Bobby, Theory. I'm trying to get the thing up.
Damn, there's only 2 more too, because I forget.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm trying to pull it up on the WWE Instagram.
Edge.
Edge is in it. God damn it. Here it is. Sheamus was drafted in a group.
Sheamus the other one. Yeah.
Yep. Rey Mysterio was drafted in a group. AJ was drafted in a group. So the only 3 you have that were not drafted in the group is the U.S. champion, who's there because they have an Intercontinental champion there. So it really means you're really boiling it down to, if someone is going to be believably the champion, it has to be Edge or Bobby Lashley.
Edge or Lashley, yeah.
And the whole purpose of taking Edge over to SmackDown was he hasn't been on SmackDown in fucking 18 years or some shit. So then it really leaves it down to Bobby Lashley. Why would you draft Bobby over to this just for that? He's the one guy who's feasibly could be in that match that would make sense to actually win, because none of the other people, do you believe, have a chance at winning?
Yeah.
Because the other thing that would be absolutely stupid is to draft the OC as a unit and then have AJ win the title and end up on Raw.
Yep.
You've now ripped the leader out of the one faction that only existed because of AJ. Yep. So clearly so that when AJ had an injury, the rest of the OC vanished.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep. No,
it
that's a
doesn't
great
make
point.
any sense.
It's a great point. They really fucked themselves on this because, and even, I mean, just to rip the Band-Aid off here, with Seth winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who are the 2 that you said are the only viable 2 that make sense?
For SmackDown, that's not
for
the
SmackDown.
roster.
No, I'm saying this for SmackDown,
yeah.
right?
Edge and Bobby.
And who have we seen the most matches with Seth in the last 2 years?
Edge and Bobby.
Yeah. Like, so do we want another Edge? And this is something that I put out on Twitter afterwards. Is like, I guess AJ's the one I would want to win because that's the match we haven't seen, or Sheamus. Yeah. But is Sheamus going to get pulled from the Brawling Brutes? I would love to see Sheamus and Seth. And maybe Sheamus win the title. I mean, that'd be fucking awesome. But like you said, if Edge wins, he's gonna go to Raw. Well, he hasn't been on SmackDown in forever. So yeah, they kind of fucked themselves by doing this. They should have just had the whole thing be done on Raw and be done in one shot. It just doesn't add up.
And it makes me think it's going to be Edge also because it's in Saudi Arabia, and we know Saudi Arabia likes their legends. You know what I mean? So it just, the whole thing's falling apart. I honestly felt like that the real move was to have Seth lose in the first round so everyone would be scrambling. Well, who's it going to be? Well, then it has to be Cody. And then Cody gets pulled out by Brock. And you go, who the fuck is it going to be?
Right.
Make it feel exciting. This has felt bland.
And then just look at Justin's take. I mean, it's perfect. It makes sense.
Well, the first one he says was, and that's the reason why Cody should have won and separated the titles. The world title replaces the Universal, and then it's on the level with the WWE title instead of feeling like a second place prize. Sort of. And then he says, if this tournament was only Raw and Edge was on Raw, at least he'd make sense to win the story of him wanting to win the title he never lost when he had to retire. Yeah, that story is there too. And I thought that was interesting, like adding people in it who had won, like Sheamus, Edge, and Ray all are former world heavyweight champions. So I was like, that would make sense why the 3 of them might want it, because they might want to regain that, right? But I don't know, dude. This tournament was stupid. It was just dumb because it wasn't excitingly predictable. It was, is this the Seth belt that we're getting?
Right.
And then Seth even had an interview the other day where he said that he's had to come to grips that he'll never be the top guy because he lives in the era of Roman. He said the best I can hope to be is the Edge to his John Cena or the Macho to his Hogan. And you're like, yeah, I get that, and it's unfortunate, but at the same time, you're talking about people who are highly regaled. So it's another thing to be also. And here's the other deal: if there was no Hogan, would Macho have been the guy? You know what I mean?
Right.
They wanted Dusty Rhodes before they wanted Hogan, but Dusty said no, so they went with Hogan. You know what I mean? Like, is Dusty talked about shittily? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird ego thing, not in a negative ego thing, but just that sense of accomplishment thing. And sometimes I feel bad for them because it almost doesn't matter how high you fly to be all like, yeah, but there was that other inch I could have gotten. And you go, yeah, but like you know what I mean? Like, I feel bad sometimes.
No, I get you, and we just talked about this a couple weeks ago on episode 1. Like when Bruno got his streak, how many people didn't get the chance? You know, how many names did we miss out on? But I think we're in an era now where things are so readily available to view. I mean, look at The Miz. The Miz is a fucking WWE icon now. Like, let's just for what it is. He's been doing it for 20 years. He knows his exact role. And he's going to be synonymous with WWE for the rest of his life and beyond. So there's an opportunity to make your name, make your space. And I get it. That's a healthy ego to have to be successful, to want to be the best. Absolutely. And to your point, him having to, quote, settle on his own goal. Like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But he had his run. He had a 4-year run of being the best wrestler in the world. Yeah. And if not, he's still the best wrestler in the world. He's just not the top guy. So
he also was the top guy when Roman wasn't quite the top guy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
he was the top guy we needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. Like, sometimes I just feel bad for them because I think that's the reason why so many of them get as good as they get, but why so many of them get as good as they get is it's never quite enough. And that's what I feel bad about, is that there's a certain point where you just go like, man, you don't even sit here and get to enjoy just how great you are. You know what I mean? So in that regard, like, I just feel bad that they could enjoy it a little bit more, you know? Let's see, as we keep moving through though, almost versus Seth Rollins, because we're talking about Seth anyways, was a pretty cool match. That almost looked great.
I think the more he has to sell, the better he's getting at selling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I really don't have a strong take on him. I've had my opinions of him over the last 2 years, the different ways he looks and moves and things like that. He has an opportunity to be a really impressive performer. It's not all clicking with me yet, but he's growing on TV, and that's good for him. I'm just not quite in on him. But I see it. It's just not there for me.
Yeah, and he's not fucking it up.
Yeah, which is
not
great.
Getting worse. Yeah. Like, this was a good match. It was a good match, and he did a good job in it, and he's better than all of his matches are better than the last, and that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely. We said that about a certain son of a Hall of Famer over the last couple of years as well, you know?
Yeah. Let's see, the triple threat, Theory, Bronson, and Bobby Lashley. I mean, I probably won't go back and rewatch it, but I thought everyone did well here. I thought it was a pretty cool match.
Yeah, it's a standard for Theory, you know, and they replaced Seth Rollins with Bronson Reed this time, and Bronson did a good job in his part. So, you know, but something's got to change with Theory. We got to see a little bit more in another direction with him.
I think I'm more than done with seeing Theory and Bobby Lashley in the same match, because they're doing it again for the triple threat, right? Like, we don't need Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley every week forever.
Right.
Like, they work well together. We get it. Like, who's learning what from who now?
You right.
I mean? Like, let's keep
right.
You know what? The United States Championship feels stagnant too.
But good on them, to be honest. There's like a 20-year age difference, and they do a fantastic job together. So instead of just brushing under the rug like we both just did, let's give them a little bit of credit, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, they did.
But well. I am done seeing it. Yeah.
And I want more for Bobby. I think Bobby just stuck in this U.S. title holding pattern is not great, man. Like, come on.
And more for Theory.
Yeah. I mean, even if Theory had gone on to 101 with Bronson Reed, that's something new and exciting. You know what I mean? Like, Theory constantly stealing a win over Lashley doesn't add more credibility to his title reign, like taking on new challengers would. So I don't know. Ripley versus Alina Vega. Just a really good match that was really emotional for all the right reasons. And Zelina was very impressive in this.
I had a feeling. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
just really like just like Queen of the Ring. Like I said, when her and Doudrop had the match, it was, well, what are we getting out of this? You know, I've been critical of Zelina so much that she blocked me, you know, and that hasn't changed. But the thought that she can put on a great match by herself, it just never exists. With the right partner, she looks awesome. She did that with Queen of the Ring. I thought it was her best match. And then this one here, just like you said, on Friday, we got a glimpse of what we may see. They worked fantastic together. It was really fun, and the emotions were insane.
Yeah. And it was great. There was a lot of even in their match on SmackDown, there was a lot of movement and stuff that Zelina was able to do and capitalize that did not look clunky, that definitely could have. Like they really worked hard on this one. She's really stepped it up. She's the best she's ever been, for sure. There was a long time I heard a lot of people being like, Zelina can wrestle, she can really go. And then you'd watch some of her matches and you'd be like, it's really clunky. She's really struggling. That's finally all gone. And I think she has a real proper place in the LWO now as being a viable woman wrestler, you know? Yeah. Where before she was like more of a valet who could do a move or two to help push a story. But this is like, no, she could hold down a match.
Her and Andrade was epic. They were a perfect fit. So when she gets into Legado and it kind of meshes very similar, but they let her kind of stay back as an equal to Santos, but we really don't see anything. But like you said, now that she's getting an opportunity, hey, she might be, you know, the Rhea to this faction if that consistently stays there, because we talked about that a couple years ago. It's that time on TV doing the task that's really going to allow them to be better wrestlers.
Yeah. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. This was just like the point of the show, I think. You know what I mean? Like when you really boil it down, having Savio Vega in earlier, bringing Carlito into here, Savio, LWO, Judgment Day, all kind of face to face. Bad Bunny's in the best shape of his life, I think. Because the first time he wrestled, we're like, he's a little scrawny, isn't he? And this time you're like, he's filling out that shirt a bit, isn't he? Like
his back was massive. He's fucking yoked.
Yeah, I was pretty happy for him. When he did his entrance and the whole crowd was just singing along to all of it, that was fucking cool, dude. It was just cool. It was just a perfect thing. I saw someone complain to me that Bunny and Priest sat out for 10 minutes. What was that all about if he's so damn good? And I was all like, you mean when they were doing all the fucking local stuff, all the Savio and Carlito? Like, do you not get why that would have been a thing? Like, do you want the match to keep going behind them? Like,
not only that, they allowed that to happen without it interfering in the match.
I mean, it was so good and exciting that honestly, when it went back to the match, even commentary was all like, I guess we still have a match to get to. But even as I watched, I was like, oh yeah. And then when it like went on for a couple more minutes, I was all like, they could have probably ended on that other bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It was fine and it ended fine and everything. And it wasn't bad. And I'm glad they didn't just cut back to the ring and do a roll up and call that the victory. They wanted to make it mean something and keep that build going. But yeah, it was a little funny that they were just out for a while, but all that stuff was so good and exciting, and the crowd could not have been more hyped. Like, just do it, you know?
It was awesome. You know, I'm not a Carlito guy. When I came back into wrestling and I was trying to watch, let me watch all the WrestleManias in a row and see, and then everything I saw from Carlito, I'm like, I just don't get it. And at that time, I was trying to gravitate to something, and I didn't gravitate to him. And then I realized how many people love Carlito, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I saw him in Glow, and I listened to him on an interview or two. And, when you understand how people enjoy it, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then he came out during the pandemic, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, this is cool. But just to tell a little personal story, when he came out this time, and the crowd went fucking bananas, and he's wearing the Puerto Rico LWO shirt. I was like, wow, this is crazy. But he gets into the ring and he's wearing Jordan Cool Gray 11s. And I had a friend in high school. Every time I see that shoe, and I've tweeted this story out before, but every time I see that shoe, I think of him. It's just a basketball thing. We were very close, and he passed away a while back, and I actually missed his passing by a year and a half, and I never got a chance to say goodbye to him. And every time I see the shoe, it gets me emotional. So when Carlito came out, and I'm seeing and he was a Puerto Rican kid. When he came out, and I saw the colors, and I hear the crowd, and I see the shoes, I just start crying, man. Like the passion that overflows from the Latino community. But in my life, I have a very special relationship with a handful of Puerto Ricans that it just ran over me, man. Like I was trying to hold a lot back listening to the crowd and seeing the colors and how Puerto Ricans represent themselves and their island. They're not a sovereign state. They're a U.S. territory. They treat themselves like a country and a culture and all this shit. And that did it for me. To not be a Carlito fan in any bit of wrestling, that was the moment of the night for me. It just solidified everything for me. What wrestling's about, what Puerto Ricans are about, what my attachment to all of this is about in one moment. And I couldn't stop. And then when I replayed the match back the next day, I cried again, man. It's such a beautiful thing. All together, but I haven't seen a match like this from a celebrity, from entertainers, from interferences to nothing, where so much shit is going on and nothing missed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was literally perfect.
People talk about Bad Bunny being better than 95% of the AEW roster, the WWE roster, this guy or that guy. And when you watch him, I think it's really easy to figure out why. Like, it's really easy. He lays his shit in because he's not going to be on the road 100 days a year or a week or what the fuck, I don't know. He's not out there all the fucking time, and he's trying to protect his opponent, but his opponent is always going to be just fine. Hit me as hard as you want, pal. You know what I mean? Like, I think one of the things that takes out a lot of the matches that people I don't think that they can pinpoint until they see something like this is how much it's obvious when the performers are taking care of each other or taking a night off and just trying to take it easy. You see none of that with Bad Bunny or Logan Paul, and that's why they come out and get such massive reactions, because people go, oh, these guys are for real, though. Miz and Ciampa are trying to make sure that neither one of them get hurt because they don't want to roll an ankle, and they just came back from surgery, and they're trying to be really safe and careful and all that.
Right.
But this dude is here to win. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and that comes across in those. So that's why I think that, yeah, it was amazing. Just to catch up with Justin, he said that Zelina losing was predictable, but she won the night with the moment she had at the beginning and the end of the match. Match was good as well. And I think, like you said, the whole Puerto Rican vibe there. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest wasn't just a match, it was an experience, and an incredible one at that. Bunny coming out, Chambia, and the crowd singing along popped me massively. Pop like a maniac for Carlito. What a moment in 2023. I think so too. Like, there was so much of this that was just, that's the whole point of it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. Damian Priest, I'm watching this whole show go through, and all I could think of was Tombstone, when Doc Holliday goes to Wyatt and he's like, Wyatt, you are an oak. Like, that's what I'm thinking as I look at Damian Priest, because all this shit's happening around him, and he's stone facing and no selling, and he's mad and fuck that guy. And you know what I mean? There's no part of him that didn't just crumble as soon as he got to the back. You know what I mean? He was so reserved.
1000%. The table spot, right? In the crowd when he does the Falcon Arrow through the tables with Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
The camera catches him cradling Bunny's neck.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I watched it, and I just go, man, that's so cool. These guys are giving us a performance. And every step of the way, Damian Priest is making sure that we can have this match. He is taking care of Bad Bunny in the best way he can to make sure they can put on everything for us. That is fucking awesome. Just in that little moment where you see him cradle his head so his neck isn't in the wrong position when he lands. Like, it's
Dude.
And then Bunny, to his credit, he lays flat out coming down too, right? He's not, cricking his legs to where he's going to try to protect himself with his feet or anything like that. He puts his part into it. It was just, that moment just sold the match for me. And then, of course, everything after that was a fucking experience, like Justin said.
Dude, the hand on the head was a big moment for me too, because I'm watching it and I'm thinking, like, Damien cares so much. He didn't just cradle the neck. He pushed his head into position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is where your head is going to be for this, because you're going to be safe here. You know what I mean? Where with other wrestlers, and that's the other part of it, it doesn't, when you put your hand on the back of someone's head and push them a little bit and they go flying over the top rope, you go, okay, that guy jumped over the top rope. With Damien and with Bunny, it was, I'm throwing you into the ropes. You know what I mean? Like, it was, we're going to make this look right. And that's why everything looks so clean. That was a moment where when you'd see them move other times, they might just tap the back of that person's neck to remind them to tuck their chin, but you also know they're going to tuck their chin anyways. This was, nope, I'm forcing you down, and it protects you, but it also makes it look more real. It makes it look more violent in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, he's pushing his head to throw him. Like, those little things get lost when you get really comfortable with your other workers who you expect to be safe. You know what I mean? This is one where you are having to protect each other legitimately, and it makes it look more real. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy how that works. I don't know. It was just awesome. It was awesome. Justin says Bad Bunny for the Hall of Fame immediately. It's decided. Dude, you could. I wouldn't even flinch. Yeah. I mean, Kid Rock got in the Hall of Fame because he sang one song one time. You know what I mean? And you put Bad Bunny in.
I think, like, the conversation, the greatest celebrity performer and all that shit. It doesn't matter. At this point, it doesn't matter. There's a level of respect for the business, right? Or those guys now. There's a level of respect for the business that no entertainer is going to jump in this going, yeah, this is going to be cool.
Yeah.
They're jumping into it going, this is what I have to do to give my all because I love this shit.
Dude, if anyone wants to and they get the chance, Sam Roberts did the Not Samomania, and he just posted the videos to his YouTube. When Will Sasso comes out, that's the interview that you want to make sure you listen to. He talks about how he wrestled Bret Hart and what that was like. And to hear his version of how that match went and how his part in it and all that stuff. And then also just fast forward and juxtapose that next to Bad Bunny and all the clips they showed about him talking about this was the greatest thrill of his life. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
I'm not saying Sasso downplays it. Sasso doesn't say it wasn't a great thrill. But when you see and know what Bad Bunny's doing and you hear Will Sasso, it makes the story even funnier and crazier. It's so good. So it's worth the listen there. I honestly, the next match was Usos and Sikoa against Riddle, Zayn, and Owens. I watched the first 2 minutes. Then I fast forwarded 20 minutes and watched the last couple minutes. And I'm honest. I cried when Owens and Zayn won the title. This story is spinning its wheels. It's stuck in the mud and nothing's happening. Nothing's changing. I also know that the way the bloodline works is they wrestle for about 15, 20 minutes and then they talk for like the last 5 minutes. And that's where the story is. That's what they've gotten us to at this point. It wasn't always that way. Roman used to talk through the whole matches. And that's what we had here. I don't feel the need. I don't feel like I missed anything. I want you to talk to me a little bit about this. I know this match was booked backwards. This should have not had Riddle in it. Riddle should have been in a 3-on-3 on SmackDown or the SmackDown before, whatever it was, the Raw before where they had the rematch. And this should have been a tag match for the titles. This was a backwards thing that felt really irrelevant to me. I'm not saying fucking talk me into it or defend this shit. I'm not saying it's even shitty. I'm saying help me get it, or what are you seeing that I'm not?
So, yeah, I'm only going to defend so much. The book backwards part is definitely the town in the ring and where maybe the finality of Zayn and Owens when it comes to the Usos was. But that finale was on that SmackDown. this was the match to put them in to add a crack to the bloodline. So this was, to your point, filler until we get to the Jay and Sokolo rift. And then you got Jimmy acting like, nah, man, everything's cool. We still won. So Jimmy acting as if everything's cool because they won while Jay and Sikoa are having their issues together. That's what this was about. So by the time they face Roman, that we have more dissension, if you will, the overword used in wrestling right now, but we have more cracks in the armor. That's all I thought this match was about. Though it's fun. I mean, it's every. I mean, you can watch the Usos wrestle every single day of the week, and you're gonna have something cool to watch. But to your point, if the story is really not going to pick up until the end of the match, then why are we constantly going through this? I could see that. But it is quality shit. If you're more vibing on, I just love this story, tell me the story, get to the story, I'm okay with that too. I can understand that as well.
Well, I mean, that's my problem is I was vibing on the story so hard, and then we get to Mania, and then the story just sputters. And at this point, is it because of Roman's absence? And if that's the case, do we make the right decision on everything? Like, how are we in a spot where this was literally the hottest fucking story that everyone was talking about for like 2 years to all of a sudden becoming like such an afterthought? You know what I mean?
There's
and
a chance,
get to the point,
There's a chance that this is where I think the problem is that it was Sammy, KO, and Riddle.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't try. Let's put it. They didn't try putting 3 other people in front of the Usos. They should have. Had they tried to put 3 other people in front of the Usos and they lose because Jay and Solo can't get on the same page, that's a better way to show cracks than them winning while having cracks. But the win was purposely over Riddle, of course, because for some odd reason, Sammy and KO were taken out for like 8 fucking minutes. Yeah. So the end of the match really slugged for me because, well, Sammy and KO got to be coming out from somewhere, and they never did. Yeah. And that was really fucking odd. So, yeah, I think if they did a better job of getting 2 other, even if it was the Street Profits and Riddle, if they found a way to do that, and we still had the same win, I think that's where it was. So I think to your point, because they even referenced it on Raw, Sammy and KO did. Oh, well, we took months to get rid of the Usos, but we'll take care of you tonight. Speaking of Imperium. So I can see how, had they used a different tag team and the same result, that would have made more sense.
Yeah. This whole match came down to 2 lines for me. 1, Jay looking at Sammy in the corner saying, I'm so tired of you. You're ruining my family. I just want to be away from you. Which was also wicked hypocritical because he's the one who keeps chasing them. They keep doing other stuff and he keeps showing up on their show and being like, I'm not done with you. We're not done with you. And then in this moment, he's like, I just want to be done with you. Unless you're going to show that Roman's making him not be done with them and he's doing something he doesn't want to do, then this just comes off weird and out of place.
Right.
The other line was Solo holding on for too long with that spike with Jay and Jay saying, I'm your brother, not him. And not because there's no Roman, the context is missing that he's not talking about Riddle. He's talking about Roman. And I shouldn't be trying to piece that together. That's something that could have happened in a segment that involved some sort of Roman-esque thing. He's not your brother. He's your cousin. I'm your brother. We're actual brothers. You know what I mean? Like that would have more impact where this felt thrown away because of this match and in the moment they did it.
So if he said, he's your cousin, I'm your brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of not him, if he had said the words, he's just your cousin, everyone would have been like, oh shit, he's not talking about Riddle.
So to their credit, to WWE's credit, they're doing a great job at the structure of a long-term story. Not every bit of this long-term story is hitting because they are leaving still things to the imagination. Because to your point, like you don't want to keep hearing or keep having to go back. Well, he said him, so he was talking about Roman when he said him. Yeah, there can only be so many fill in the blanks from the fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And when we haven't had Roman on TV
since Mania.
What,
Monday? Yeah, the Monday after Mania. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't have him on TV or anything like that, and you're still doing all this other stuff, then it becomes more and more ambiguous as you go. Is he even talking about him? I don't know. Is it going to mean things? Is he going to show up? I don't know. We might not see Roman for another 2 months.
Right.
So, the main event though, Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Cody's really gunning for this generation's Hogan. More so than Cena. He's really like trying to be so all-American, so heavy that it cracks me up sometimes. And in defense of Cody's trying to be Hogan, Hogan cheated a lot.
Well, that's the best part about that's the best part about Bobby the Brain Heenan, right? Like all his commentary was telling the truth about Hogan was doing in the ring, and then as soon as Hogan turns hot,
I've been telling you all along.
Yeah.
He fooled all of you, but never me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know but I think he is going to toe that line as long and hard as he can. The match itself was sick, dude. This match was pretty perfect. Yep. Like, I didn't see any sort of misstep or anything that didn't make sense. Like, not that I'm all like studying it like I teach wrestling. It was just one of those things where sometimes you watch stuff and you go, "Oh, that was fucked," right?
The only thing, because I saw it live and I was like, "Oh, come on, man!" But the now GIF or GIF, as you would say, as the creator would say. I know you're gonna tell me that fucking story too, but Cody stomping to the stairs like that.
Yeah. His big old arms up.
It's like, come on, man. What do you?
I don't understand what that was.
You're trying really hard to show intensity. Just be natural, man. Be natural. I'm gonna get these stairs, damn it.
Yeah, that was some Johnny Gargano shit.
Yeah, for sure. I had a question. So my original take of the match.
Yeah.
Extremely solid match, like you said. If that match didn't have blood, would it have felt the same?
No.
Right. Then I go back and I watch the moment where Brock gets cut. Does he hardway himself on the turnbuckle post, or does he have it in his palm and slice himself open?
I believe the turnbuckle.
Accidental or on purpose?
I believe on purpose.
Okay. Because on the same Masked Man show, they had said the idea of putting Bad Bunny not on last was the fact that the ending match was supposed to have blood. And I thought that this was a classic Triple H match to show the intensity. We need the blood. And it came off perfect. And we know Brock. He has the literal thinnest skin of all time. Not sensitivity, but his actual skin. When he got cut open during the Roman match at WrestleMania 31, it was off the vest. You know what I mean? Like, the guy bleeds.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if Brock was like, yeah, just expose the turnbuckle. I'll hit my head on it. We're good.
I also noticed when I was looking at the turnbuckle, I'm going to have to go back and find other times the turnbuckle's exposed. On the side, there was a screw, a bolt, and there was like a raised, almost like a washer, but not quite. It was like a washer post thing. And I could have sworn it was just a red circle with a rope through it that was like locked in like this. There was like an additional bolt up here that had a little raised thing that I think may have had a sharpened edge. But I haven't built one of their ropes. I've built a lot of other rings that are not theirs. So I couldn't tell you if that was supposed to be there, but that did look a little bit different to me than I'm accustomed to.
A little extra just to help it out.
I think there was a little bolt there with a sharp edge, so when he put his head down, it would just. And who's going to be more precise than Brock?
Oh, he's fantastic. I mean, Brock is so amazing, and I thought honestly, there's the IWC part that thinks that Brock is some snob and all this shit, and he's the one who got into Bray Wyatt's feelings this time, and that's incredibly possible. But for one certain fact, that bell rings, you're getting Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
he's earning his fucking money. The only time we saw him do a match that seemed like he didn't want to was the Dean Ambrose one at Mania, right? That was the one where they kind of, all right, we're going to go through the motions, get the fuck out of here. But other than that, I mean, I figured this was going to be awesome. I do have a respect for what Cody does, as much as it doesn't sound it, but this was a perfect match. I thought it went exactly how it should. A little quick on the finish, I thought. Mm-hmm. But other than that, the blood played a perfect role. Cody looked amazing. Brock looked amazing. I mean, it was a perfect end to the night. But I'll tell you this, just to circle it back to Bad Bunny, I was done after that match. I was just, my energy was gone. Oh, yeah. I was like, I need nothing else. This is good enough for me.
Dude, we've been so busy and traveling and going all over. And I saw Ricky Gervais, and when Backlash was on, like, I could not watch it. We came back doing stuff. I did not get to watch any of Backlash until yesterday. I watched, and we got all the way up through the Bad Bunny match, and I just went, all right, I'm going to bed. The last two matches I'll watch later. There's no reason. This is a separate show. After this show is a secondary show.
Yep.
That was the point of it. And like Justin said, it was an experience, and it was a massive experience, and it was so fucking perfect that, when I woke up this morning, I was like, well, I got to watch those last two matches. And I get going, and I'm watching the first couple matches of the Usos, and then went, I've seen this a lot. And then I was like, all right, so what are the lines they want me to hear? Found them and said, oh, okay, cool. And then fast forwarded to the beginning of Brock's match, and I was like, okay, now I'm in it. Now we're watching something big. Bloodline has become so secondary in that regard. But this Cody Brock thing, the biggest problem. Oh, and Justin just said it too. See, I tried to see if Just wanted to be on today, and he like blew me off. And now he's staying up in here trying to make my points for me. Like, man. He said this Cody and Brock feud isn't working. No explanation why the feud is happening, and the feud feels like it's just there to please the Cody needs adversary crew, and everyone else has to sit through it. And I think that's like a 50-50 take where you're not all wrong, but you're oversimplifying. I wouldn't say that the feud's not working at all. It definitely makes no sense, and they're definitely not even trying to give an explanation. Yeah. And there definitely doesn't feel like there's a larger point to it. It does feel super face value. If we're going to prove that Cody didn't deserve it then, we're going to have him earn it now, right? And to the point that I've seen other people try to make, and to me, a la Bishop, terribly, the idea that, see, this definitively proves that Cody shouldn't have had the belt. If Cody had the belt in this, it would have made this flat. I don't feel that that's the case at all. I think the whole reason we have two titles on Roman right now is because, by definition of what we've set and expectations and the belief in the titles, is that all things are bigger with the title on the line. That's how we got the biggest WrestleMania main event of all time, was by adding a second title. They made no other changes. They added a second title, and now it's the biggest of all time. Adding a title into this would make the match bigger, because at the end of the day, it was real split 50-50 even on this one. Is Cody going to win or lose? Is he going hard times, or is he going, like I predicted, a get to the final boss after you lost the final? Is he going the video game route, or is he going the hard times route? Is he going to take a shitload of losses, or is he going to start building his wins? I think either way, if you have the title, it's bigger because it's Brock Lesnar. If his first match after winning the title was against Mustafa Ali, you'd say, what are we doing here? If his first one was against Damian Priest, like let's say Bad Bunny had a different match. If it was going to be against Damian Priest here in Puerto Rico, because it's in Puerto Rico, you go, yeah, it'll be a nice moment for Damian, but they're not going to pull the trigger. Cody just won. You get Brock Lesnar on the other side, and Cody's the new champion. You go, well, for Brock, they might take that title right off Cody, and he might have to try and win it back in a second or third match.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking Brock Lesnar, and that's how he works. You know what I mean? So I don't think that it would make it lesser than, or this excuses or proves that they did do or didn't do the right decision. I think this is more of a bubble thing.
Well, that's one of my problems with AEW, especially with new people, is that they leave the fans to find out the who, right? And a lot of times they give you a little bit of the why, and then you're supposed to watch Being the Elite. You're supposed to know 10 years of history, and you don't get the why. And I think that's the one thing missing here, is the why. And then when you want the fans to figure out the why, you're doing a huge disservice to every single fan that's there. Because if you don't have the why, then oh, well, this belt is for that, or this story is for that, or like Justin said, it's for the, adversity crew and all that shit. If the why was more explicit, then we could know that, hey, maybe this thing is out of Cody's hands. That Brock, because even Brock did it on Monday, if you want to jump into that part. Look at this face. Look at this face. Look at this face, right? He's doing that in the camera. Look at this face. Okay, are we looking at the damage Cody did to you and now you feel like a bitch? Or are we looking at the face of adversity in WWE? The way Cody called him a gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to fill in these little blanks of the story of the why, but it's not apparent. And if the why becomes apparent through story, we might have a chance for the whole thing to work. Like you said, 50-50 here.
Yeah. And I think even then you're doing two inside baseball, which Cody has always tried to do two inside baseball. I think he could stand it a little bit less, but by saying that the only reason he can figure, because he also knows that this is a really thin story, is that Brock Lesnar was the gatekeeper to the main event, and he doesn't like that he's not in the main event anymore. Well, fuck does that mean to any of us, right? And the fuck does that, did Brock say that? And what about all the times that Brock wasn't in the main event and didn't have a problem with it? Why does he have a problem with Cody now, right? Why doesn't he have a problem with Roman? Because Roman's been in the last several main events. Cody's only been in one. You know what I mean? Like, if the problem is I wasn't in the main event, then why the fuck is your problem with Cody? Right?
Absolutely.
And it's also a really inside baseball thing because we opened up a WrestleMania with Paul Heyman coming out saying Brock said he found out he wasn't going to be in the main event, so he wants to go on first, so that's what we're doing. He didn't then go on to beat the shit out of Becky Lynch because she was the main event that night.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But maybe he should.
That'd be pretty good match, to be honest.
Becky taking an F5? Hell yeah.
Yeah. She took the fucking end of days.
It was amazing, too. One of my favorites. If Brock took a manhandle slam, how high would he jump? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he would go all the way. Yeah. Justin Time says, the WWE title being involved after splitting the titles would have made sense. Brock's attack would have actually made sense because he can finally challenge for the title now that Roman's not champion. Yeah, I'm saying there's a lot of stuff here that would have made more sense had they just gone a different way. And they're just not filling us in and expecting you to just accept the fact that, well, Cody's got to face somebody hard.
Yeah.
Like, but why, Brock? Why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'll call back to anything.
Yeah, I'll be consistent. If I'm going to hold that was my point of bringing them up. If I'm going to hold AEW accountable for not giving us the why or the who, the WWE's got to give us the why. I like the match. I loved how it was laid out because I can see. So what you were inferring to me about Cody's resilience getting through Roman without battling the challengers getting there. I just saw Cody take that approach and get a win. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now I get behind the Cody resilience. The way he wrestled against Brock, I felt was different than the way he wrestled against Roman. I thought it was more direct. I thought it was more resilient, more effort put in to the opponent's style of wrestling, like you were saying before on episode 1, I think, is that he will wrestle to his competition and he can wrestle to these other competitors. So I thought it was one of Cody's best matches. And I'm really on board with the trajectory of where this could go if they continue to give us more of the why, but they got to do it quick. Because if they don't do it quick, then I'm with Justin, where it's like, okay, this was cool. I guess Cody came out of it how Cody came out of it.
Yeah. And actually watching this match too, I was almost going to ask you how many video games you play, because in WWE games, they have like different style wrestlers. And they have Trickster, Acrobat, Showboat, Technician, and oh man, did I say Technician? No,
yeah.
Technician. I said
Powerhouse.
Powerhouse is the other one. Cody's a showboat wrestler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He does a little bit of all sorts of things as long as it's flashy enough. You know what I mean? Brock Lesnar is a powerhouse wrestler. He does big power moves. And I thought this was such a perfect example of a showboat versus a powerhouse. And that's what I was trying to explain to you before, when you see like with him versus Finn Balor, you had more of a showboat versus a technician type. You know what I mean? That like his style is going to change. Or him and Kaiser, absolutely technician versus showboat type. He's going to wrestle to that guy's strengths. effectively, but he's going to try and figure out a different way to wear you down and get you there. You know what I mean? Like, Showboat's what makes that style so different than all the other ones is it's a little bit of all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it takes them a lot of power to defeat, but it also takes a lot of power to defeat them. They have a high health bar and also a low power meter. So I definitely understand that. I've just always seen Cody as a really good technician, so I like when he wrestles that way. So maybe that's part of the veil, that I have on this particular character. It's like, show me more. But it being more of the Showboat style, then I can vibe with that.
I think it's because in AEW he was a pure technician, and here he's a Showboat, and that's a little jarring.
Who was he hitting with the crossroads in on Raw that looked like shit?
Oh, was it Miz?
Was it Miz?
Could have
It
been
looked
Miz.
fucking bad. But Brock, when he was fucking crossroading Brock, I was like, oh, Brock is fucking amazing. He takes an outstanding crossroads.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about like 2 weeks ago, Raw?
No, like in the
triple threat? Yeah, I think it was Miz. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know, man. We did open up with Cody Rhodes saying he's going to go for the title, and then Seth comes out and has his match. It was really weird because they're trying to get the crowd to sing to Seth, but they just weren't fucking doing it. So like they were all doing it at a different moment. So it was just like sounded like for a really long time.
I felt like it was the opposite. It felt like they did a strategic blend of the music to not have the chant last as long. That's how I felt it was. I might be wrong.
No. If you listen to it, because even Corey, right before they go to break, he goes, okay. Because they were all off. They weren't in sync going, They were all starting at different moments. So it sounded just like a flatlined, and then they just cut to commercial because they were like, well, this isn't coming together.
So then maybe the case is that AEW and Jacksonville suck.
Yeah, Jacksonville's got to go, dude. Put it out. Let me see.
Real quick. I tweeted out, I love they're using Seth's music to limit the crowd cheering. I fully expect a fully focused Seth very soon. I thought it was character driven that way, but if you're saying that it was a misstep, I'll go back and watch it.
No, because they came back and tried it again at the end of the night, and they got it right that time.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Justin does say Miz always looks like he's afraid to take moves. I've always thought that too. He does look. He looks, nervous. The triple threat to me was a bit of a. It was a bummer because it just started off predictable. We ended up with Mustafa Ali defeating Otis for no reason. Cody gets taken out of the match, and Finn Balor wins. And that whole thing is about Brock and Cody and has nothing to do with Finn. I was not into that.
But there's someone who knows how to take advantage of a distraction.
Yes.
Because when it happened, they did a great job catching Finn's reaction to what happened. Okay, well, fuck it. I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to take care of that, and I'm going to win this match.
Yep. And then Brock Lesnar cuts a Dolph Ziggler promo. Should have been me. And it should have been me. Rhea Ripley comes out, has the Dana Brooke match. The fans snub everyone but Rhea, and that's a bummer. The match wasn't even bad. Dana and Rhea actually worked.
It was solid. Yeah, it was solid. Yep.
I was really impressed with Dana here, and I was excited to see Natalya come out because Natalya's a badass, and Natalya and Rhea is going to be good. So I don't know what everyone's problem was there. It was a short match, but I thought it was a really good match.
I agree.
Owens and Sammy against Imperium. I don't even remember that.
It was solid. It's what Imperium does. Has perfect tag team matches, and then just ended.
Okay. Zoe and Nikki. It was very short, but it was nice to see Zoe getting a little bit out there. It was a bummer to see Nikki taking a loss, but Nikki's really great at it. She's really good. So, I was happy to see both of them on TV.
And she also said, "I'll play."
Oh, is that what she said? Oh yeah. In the backstage thing.
I heard that. I just started clapping. I was like, okay, let's go. She's so much fun as that character, man.
Yeah. I'll be honest too. There was a point here where I don't have the right order here, but backstage, I think it was before. Maybe that's why. I think it was right before Sammy, or no, it was right before Zoe came out. They had a backstage segment that it had Chelsea and Sonia, and they're walking around getting people to sign stuff. They walk over, and then there's All of the Way. And then that was going on too long. And I had realized that we were about an hour and a half in, and I haven't enjoyed but 3 or 4 seconds of this entire show. And so I turned it off and started watching Succession so we could get caught up. And it was the first time I've turned off Raw live in years, but I just said, this is bad. This is so bad. Johnny is awful. They've already ruined Indy by bringing her back with Dexter. And now they're teasing that they're going to add Ciampa to the mix with that whole he's coming back soon. Now this audience was bad, but it doesn't matter what audience they've ever put him in front of. No one around Johnny has ever gotten a reaction. Kevin Owens was hot as hell, did a segment with Johnny and got no reaction.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. You're not fixing anyone by adding more people to the mix. You're just tying more people to an anchor. I don't get it. So I had to go back yesterday and watch the rest of Raw, and that's when I saw Zoe and Nikki. But I just wanted to say that the show was so bad that I turned it off. That during the match, or during the Trish Stratus moment that we're going to get to in a second, I got texted by someone saying this is embarrassing. And I was like, what's happening? And they said, oh, it's Raw. And I was like, oh, I turned it off. I'm watching Succession now. I couldn't stand to watch. It was just so bad. I want to be able to watch this and fast forward. That's how bad this episode was to me. It was so flat. Justin does say, if Seth and Finn was the final of the tournament and not just the final on the Raw side, it would have been awesome. Full circle match. That's exactly what I thought. That'd have been a great way to end the whole tournament. We just barreled through it for no reason.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
That does bring us to Trish. And this is when I circle back and watch it the next day because I finally wanted to watch it. And even though I was told this was pretty embarrassing, I went in with pretty low expectations, and I felt even worse watching. This was not good, man. I don't understand the people who are so excited saying this Trish and Becky thing is so exciting. We're finally getting this. Trish is just not delivering on these really long promos.
Yeah, that's like the first third of the promo I really enjoyed. I was like, okay, I like the concept. I like the direction, the Becky's missing thing. The T-shirts, the flyers, and we as fans, we have to be careful as fans that when us as fans don't gravitate to a story, they're going to try as much new shit as possible until you fucking say this is awesome, right? So that's to your point about Raw. You turned it off. I let it breathe. I was like, how are they going to show me this new Raw with the rosters? So I watched the whole thing, and I was like, okay. Next week better be better, So I get your point, but it wasn't. This Raw has nothing to do with the Raw before, is what I'm saying. Right? They're telling different stories now, so that's why I was like, okay, first page of the chapter. Okay, to your point, this book sucks. You closed it, right? So when this came up, like I was really enjoying it, and you're right, like it fell flat, and then Becky's music hit, and I was like, oh shit, she tried to pull the wool over our eyes, right? Like that was cool. But then she couldn't pick it back up from that moment. She 1000% nailed it, right? She got to the point where, all right, Trish, whatever, man, whatever the fuck, this shit needs to end. Becky's music hits. We think Becky's coming. Becky doesn't come. Oh, you got one. And then, she didn't nail it. Then Becky comes out, and even the scrum was a little rough. So
the scrum was rough. Becky picks up the mic, says one thing. They play her music. She's clearly about to say more, has to throw her mic. The whole segment was kind of flubbed. And to be honest, I'm sure it's happened, but nothing comes to mind immediately. Maybe Seth Rollins. There's only so many times you can take someone who is so fucking hot and cool them off this bad.
Yeah.
Everything since SummerSlam with Bianca, with Becky, has not hit. And every time she starts to build a little momentum with something, they do something to cool it way off. And I think a lot of it is these dream matches. These matches we never got and wish we could have. sometimes you have to accept that it's just too late for them. You know what I mean? Like, you can't go back and have all these matches.
Where do you think it comes from? Do you think it comes from Becky, Trish, management?
I think all people are on board with it, and I think everyone's all very hopeful. And it's, well, I mean, Trish is great. Oh, Becky's fucking phenomenal. How could it fail? Wow, Lita's beloved, and her last run with Becky went great, and then everything doesn't hit. You know what I mean? And it's damage control. Like, on paper, it's can't miss.
Yeah.
But because of their booking decisions, because of the time they're getting, because of the lines they have to say, everything around it is cooling it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That match at Mania was trash. The match at Raw before it was awful. Like, you can't get me excited about a storyline that involves nothing but bad matches leading up to this point so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just go, this is... And Trish is not a bad talker, but she's not well known for all of her glorious promos. This was too much time for her.
Yeah.
That needed to be tighter. And Becky needed more time. Becky said almost nothing in this. And so you walk out of this going, one of the best talkers you have, you gave her one sentence.
Yeah, that's not her character. Her character work isn't that. You know, maybe GOAT Becky is, you know, maybe where she's got the animals all over. It's fuck you. I don't need to talk to you. Maybe that Becky is, but that's not who she called out.
No. Yeah. This was, she's been gone for 3 weeks. She comes back, says one thing and a couple punches, and you just go, what the fuck? Like, you front loaded the trash and then put the good stuff as the period. And it's like, that's not enough time to make me think this was a good sentence. It was just punctuated correctly.
Yeah.
Justin even says that Trish segment was awful. The feud has nothing going for it and still has no reason to be happening. No matter who wins, it's not going to be beneficial for either one. And I agree. At this point, we've had nothing but bad interactions for so long that you just want it to be over.
Yeah.
Like, and it sucks because these are some of my favorite people involved in all of this. And you watch it every week, just more and more frustrated, saying, why? This was the hottest entity in the entire industry a year ago, 2 years ago. And now it's like, couldn't be more mid-card, couldn't be less important, and isn't clicking. It's like, fuck. It's so frustrating, dude. It's so frustrating. Dominic and Xavier Woods was a good match. But that's all it was. In the middle of a show with a bunch of good matches, it was another good match. This whole Raw, man. And then you had the world title segment at the end for the tournament, and Seth wins, and you go, okay, so it's as obvious as we thought it was from the beginning. Like, I don't know, man. This Raw was bad and not clicking, and the worst part about it is it's right on the heels of an incredible premium live event.
That's where I think you have to do that. At least where I say is call an audible, show me something, right?
Yeah.
Like if one of the hottest parts of what we just saw was Judgment Day, then why not have Finn win?
Yeah.
And then give us the Finn AJ rematch. We've only seen it once. Yeah. And make it for this new title. How big is that going to be for both of them?
Yeah, that's huge.
And then have Finn win. Now you have the leader of the Judgment Day with a title. Judgment Day now bigger than they were before. A faction that was floundering a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
They should break this up. They should break this up. How many times did we hear that? They're now on top of the business, on top of WWE right now, where what they do, the more prickish they get, they're incredible.
Yeah. And then imagine having a proper Seth and Finn run.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If Finn had the title and Seth was chasing it from him, and let's say Seth takes it off of him after 1 month or so. Oh, fucking well. Then you can have another rematch there. Like, there's a massive story to be told between Seth and Finn.
And they could have done it.
Yeah. Seth winning the title up front, to me, I know a lot of people think it does. They think it's going to give the title immediate massive credibility because he's held all the other titles. But I don't think it does. I think you have to earn credibility either way. Is this because he's also held the fucking Intercontinental Championship after he was the Universal Champion? Is this a bigger title or no? You know what I mean? If he's a guy who just collects titles, it doesn't matter where it is on the totem pole. But if you have someone like an AJ and Finn battling it out because they want this, they want to prove it's something, and then you have Seth start saying, hey, actually, I want that. You make it seem like it's credible, as opposed to just saying it suddenly is credible because one guy won it who's won other titles.
Yeah.
It's got to be built either way.
Well, the missus asked me, she goes, well, so Cody's going to win this, right? I said, no, a lot of people think that, but I actually think Brock is going to interfere and, Cody will be taken out. So I definitely thought that was transparent. But what I told her was, I said, Cody's bigger than this title. You put this title on Cody, Cody actually comes down a peg because they've shown that this title is less than Roman, right? That's why it's created. So if Cody's overall story is to get back to Roman, he shouldn't be anywhere close to this title. He might be on the same show, but he shouldn't wrestle for it at all. He has to go through his adversity in his story to get back to Roman, to get Roman. That's now the story, right? So him being close to this title does nothing for him, but also does nothing for the title.
Yeah.
So they need to build this title off of some program that goes, this is big. But the fucking... The elephant in the room is Gunther and the IC title. How can you have this go to someone or some entity that is going to be perceived in a way that's bigger than Gunther? It's a tough one to do, but they've done it by keeping Gunther off TV, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the only way Gunther is like magnificently mid-card, like it or not.
I agree.
He's perfectly mid-card right now, and I don't think it would take much to bump him up. And I think what it would take to bump him up is have him to no longer be the IC title holder and move on. Now, it's a tough gimmick to do because they've done it a lot of other times, and sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't, where it's like, well, why'd that guy who lost get a world title shot now? But, sometimes you just accept that that's kind of the way of it, right? Like, maybe it's a ladder match, and he goes, you know what, fuck, I don't want it anyways, right? That's not my style. I shouldn't have been in that match. It's bullshit. You know what? I'm going to take that other big gold and I'm going to hold that for 1,000 days now. I'm going to hold that for record-breaking numbers because I can, and it, But I don't know, man. I mean, the whole show, like you said, it was really starting over, but it was starting over in such a sloppy way to me, Like, yes, it's nice to have women's matches that don't involve the title. It's nice to have women's segments and stories that don't involve the title necessarily. I think Zoe and Nikki was a cool spot. Trish went on way too long, which you don't want to feel like when women aren't getting that much time to begin with.
Yeah.
And then the Rhea and Dana Natty segment was really short. And you go, you can give us all these couple minutes here and there, but it doesn't feel as important. I guess you had all the backstage stuff with Sonya and them, but...
Real quick, I have Brock Cody on in the background here. Before Brock hits his head, Cody's back is fully pressed up against the ring, and it's just the red ring in the corner. If that extra bolt to help break the skin was there, Cody would have broke his back open like that. That's how hard he was leaning on that ring, and it's just the red ring that's exposed.
Look on the backside of the red ring.
Oh, it is there. Yeah, there is a bolt behind that.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying? It was over and above?
Yeah, not that it was over like that, but that bolt has a washer that kind of goes high.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and I'm
it's on both sides
washer,
too.
Yeah, because then he goes boom, and I wonder if he's pressed up against it, his back might not get that far back.
He does clear it. Yeah, when he goes to hit his head down, he does clear the ring to hit the other side. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's just my thought. I think that's what cut him up, and whether it was intentional or not or whatever, but who knows? I don't know. But
and they do have the other turnbuckle pads forward a bit, so you can see the ring and a bit behind it on the one below it, and it doesn't look as apparent as far as like gear behind that. Yeah.
Because the other thing is, I don't think you need the bolt with the way those things are. I think the ring hooks through.
The washers there. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Just in Time does say the only thing the Dom Woods match is probably going to lead us to is a feud between New Day and Judgment Day, which could work. It could also flounder depending on I think they're great. They're all great. I just don't know who's healthy, I guess is my big question. Just Time says if Cody would have won the world title, that would not count as completing the story as well. Correct. It's not part of the story, but that's why I was saying before. I think that if Cody wins it, his promo has to be how important he's going to make that title. Not that he's going to win it now, right? But his promo would have had to been how important the title is to him, but how it's not the end of his story. This isn't finishing my story. And he's got to make that clear that this is not important. And I'm going to bring it to the heights that I can, but this isn't it. This isn't the period on the sentence. I'm going to bring lineage to this title. But, And Justin says, after the crazy performance Bronson Reed had at Backlash, WWE should keep the focus on him and get him to Gunther and the Intercontinental Championship. I don't have a problem with that. I think Bronson's fantastic.
It could work.
Yeah. But we'll see, man. That's kind of what it was for me. This was a really disappointing Raw, really phenomenal Backlash. The SmackDown before it was just exciting because the crowd was so hot and it was cool stuff going on. This was not a Raw that made me want to see next Raw. Yeah. This was a Raw that made me interested in to see how SmackDown's going to fix some of this, right?
Yeah.
And what's SmackDown going to look like another week in a row without Roman? And are they going to fix the SmackDown Women's Championship issue? Or are we just going to have Rhea on both now, even though the lines need to be drawn?
Well, and that's to your Natty point. She came out to face Rhea, but what is she facing Rhea for? The SmackDown Women's title?
Is Natty SmackDown?
I think she's Raw, but it's what are we doing? It's the SmackDown Women's title that Rhea has.
I'm asking, was Natty drafted to Raw or SmackDown? Because I don't even remember.
I thought it was Raw.
I kind of think so too. Let me see. Because then you're right. At that point, what the fuck are we doing if Raw talent are coming out for the SmackDown Women's Championship? Let me see.
Right.
Scroll back on here. They should have a list of everybody. Their socials are too fucking busy, man.
Dude, there's so much shit on there. How can you find anything?
I know, that's why I do Instagram, because at least I can see the picture and know what it's not. Here we go. I'm looking at the red. Natalya. Yeah, so she's on Raw. She's a Raw talent. What's your problem with Rhea?
Right.
I don't know. Makes no sense. They need to fix it. But was there anything else in here? Was there anything I was missing that was particularly fantastic that I just didn't get? I did not like the Miz and Shinsuke thing at all either, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Shinsuke's great, though.
We have to get... I get we don't have to get shit, but I mean, to get that Asuka Shinsuke thing that we thought we were getting when they won the Rumbles, you know what I mean? Yeah. It'd be nice to see that. But it's like time has passed, man. That shit was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They both had incredible NXT experiences, and it just hasn't felt as important on the main rosters. No matter how many titles Asuka's won, every time either one of them gets hot, it just kind of flounders. Now, of course, Nakamura's biggest or his latest biggest thing with Boogs ended because of the torn quad. But what are we getting, man? I want to see it because they're great, especially Nakamura. Yes. Nakamura is great, so it'd be nice to see something special from him.
And we haven't seen Asuka since Mania either. Why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. There's just a lot. I think that when you tell me you're gonna have this massive tournament in the middle, for Raw, you just know that everything else is gonna be spotty at best. You're gonna have a storyless Raw, and 3 hours is a long time without story.
And SmackDown's gonna have the same tournament setup and one less hour of the show, so it's gonna feel like the entire show is just the tournament.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that either.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. We'll see. Anything else?
No, just check me out, TubaTakesPodcast.com, at TubaTakesPodcast on Twitter. And I will try to be here for you, brother, as much as I can on Wednesdays. So just glad we're able to make it work today.
Yeah. I woke up late, so I wasn't sure if it was going to happen at all today. So, thanks for coming through and saving me on this one.
You got
Again, there's so much to be excited for, and I just think that they're missing the mark just enough every time. So I don't get it. I don't know what's happening. So we'll see, but we'll be back. I'm going to be back tomorrow night with Miss Amanda Jane, I think, to talk some MLW and Impact, because that stuff's been pretty fucking exciting lately. Trinity's having her first televised match tomorrow. So we'll be excited to talk about that too. We'll see what other things she wants to repeat again and again. But outside of that, guys, we'll be back here in the dive bar of the IWC for a brand new episode 1. That's last call.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with wrestling on the rocks.